Make haste to the Arborist's spire and send word of his disposition. For the time has come to decide the fate of both the living and the dead.
It's become a theme with reviewing VR games, but the opening credits or the title logo or the developer logo can really indicate what kind of experience you're going to have on the visual clarity of these logos. And straight away, Arken Age and the Vitruvius VR logo definitely sets you up for what is going to be a visually impressive and overall magnificent VR game experience. I always like to start with graphical quality when it comes to reviewing games, and Arken Age is definitely A-class tier of graphical quality. Straight away, as I previously said, from the logo, the clarity of the image is really unbelievable in this game, and the draw distance is fantastic. Unlike some VR games, when things in the distance can seem like a static image, everything in the world of Arken Age seems like it's physically there, and you can see as far as the eye will let you see. There are two graphical options to choose from. There's the recommended performance mode, which is 90 frames native, or there's the quality, which is 120 reprojected. I've played the entire game on the performance mode. I've encountered no kind of frame rate hitches at all, and I'm not disappointed with the graphical quality on the base PS5. I did have a look at the graphical mode, but I don't overly notice that increase in resolution to myself. I'm more than happy with the quality which the base PlayStation 5 can achieve on performance. If you do have the PS5 Pro, however, there is graphical boost which can be achieved on both of these settings, which are native on the Pro, and I've seen from other content creators, but this actually does make quite a bit of difference and is very close to a high-end PC VR setup. But even on the base PlayStation 5, you are not going to be disappointed in the graphical quality of this game. However, it's not perfect, but in life there's very few things what are actually perfect. But there is a little bit of anti-aliasing I've noticed in the distance, and a few little bit of texture pop-ins on occasion, and as you can see right here on this clip, as I was walking towards this wall, you can see like a texture line going in and out as you're walking close to an object. But when you're playing the game and you're really immersed in this world, it's not going to bother you. Arken Age is a single-player VR adventure set in the Bio-Chasm, a terraformed fantasy world created by the Grand Arborist. In the game, you can engage in full physics-based combat using Arkenite infused swords and guns, and freely explore the densely filled environments under siege by Hyperion's neural corruption. Your journey begins in the Celestial Custodian's Tower on the shores of the Bio-Chasm, a terraformed realm created to harvest Arkenite energy. Its divine founder, the Grand Arborist, has ceased cultivation of your planet, and every transmission sent to him has been met with abject silence. Uncover the truth behind the disappearance of the Grand Arborist, forge alliance with the Nara alien race, and take up arms against the usurper Hyperion and his legions of corrupted soldiers. There's no real lengthy cutscenes what overly take you out of the immersion, so you're not stood around for hours just watching people talk at you. A lot of the background and lore of the game is presented to you through audio logs and then the collectibles you can find in the game. Along with your main quest objectives, each zone has side quests. Some of these you will have to complete in order to progress the game, but most of these are optional. These range from collecting the various weapon mods available throughout the game and then finding the Nara relics. These relics unlock additional lore which will tell you the backstory of the game. If you love exploring and collectibles like I do, then you will be looking for all the nooks and crannies and all these optional items you can find in the game, which is going to make your overall experience more enjoyable. Different play styles available. And the Nara relics, in each zone you will find a cartographer. Once you locate the cartographer, then you actually unlock the ability to scan the location for these relics. So it really is satisfying to clear a zone of all the side quests. Speaking of weapon mods, you have 3 main weapons within the game. You have your melee weapon, which is a start, you get a celestial sword. You have the sidearm, the light gun, and then you have a gun over your shoulder, which is your heavy gun. Each of these can be modified to have different behaviours. The sword, you become the god axe or a mace, and you pick up these plans throughout the game. And then each of the weapons have customisable sections, from the barrel to the sights to the actual grip on the back end. You can mix and match these parts for both the guns, but having a full set of each particular weapon will give you a bonus towards that. So really exploring all the zones and finding these hidden mods is definitely the way to progress to get the most out of your weapons. But it really does cater to different player styles. There are benefits and disadvantages to certain weapons, but find what you like and stick with it. In many of the game zones, you will come across the crafting stations, so you won't have to always travel back to the custodian tower. Then there are also refineries, where you can trade in different parts you collect throughout the game for currency. There is a store where you can buy pre-made health syringes, shields, mines, grenades, etc., or some additional weapon mods. Then there's also the crafting station for syringes, where you take the healing items you can get from the trees, and then you can change these into syringes. Crafting these items is very VR AF, but Vitruvius, no, you don't want to sit there for hours creating these from every single healing item you pick up. So it basically groups them together, you just do the action once, and it will create a set amount of syringes for you. This is really quite satisfying, and it's not as time consuming as you think. The burning question for a lot of people, how does it actually play, other than the exploration? Then the combat is extremely satisfying. It is a physics-based system, and I've seen comparisons to Blade and Sorcery on PSVR. It's not a game I've played. My only real experience with physics-based combat has been the likes of Ancient Dungeon and Legendary Tales, and Arken Age is definitely up there with very VR AF physics-based combat. The enemies do learn how to dodge. They will block your attacks. You have to plan accordingly and get in your attacks and parry to be able to get your opening to attack. It is very easy to get overwhelmed in this game, and one mistake and you are dead. There may not seem like a massive variety in the enemy types. There are cosmetic differences between them and the different types of weapons they use, but as you progress through the game, they are more skillful and they will have different attack patterns you've got to learn and interpret. And then of course you do come across the brutes and the boss fights, and without giving away too many spoilers, there's basically two big boss fights before the end fight, but these took a lot of getting used to, and I used a lot of health syringes to complete these battles. I've still not quite learnt the full ins and outs of how to take these down effectively. I'm sure there's a way of what's missing me, but I took the long road, and some of these battles did last me quite a length of time to get through. I really could just keep talking about Arken Age. There's no doubting that I absolutely love this game. But other features which I just need to mention before I wrap this up. The sound design, the soundtrack for this game really is just, it's magically inspiring, really draws you into that fantasy world, and the overall sound design, sound effects really fits everything that this world's trying to achieve. It really makes this a believable world that draws you in. And of course Vitruvius are really taking advantage of all the specific PSVR2 features. The haptics in the sense controllers, the adaptive triggers, all the different weapons do feel like different weapons. Headset haptics, rumble, there's dynamic foveated rendering for the visual quality. Everything they can throw at this game, which is an advantage of the PlayStation VR2, they are making full use of it. People always say, if you try to please everybody, you please no one. But with the wealth of options Vitruvius have put into Arken Age, I think they've actually really achieved this. Between all the different comfort settings, the grip options for toggle, touch or hybrid, there's even offsets for your gun angles. Everything you could throw at this game, including the kitchen sink, they've done, and I think it really works. Everything you could possibly want to do to make this experience tailored for you, they've achieved. After a very short period of time of starting Arken Age, it became apparent to me that I was basically looking for a reason not to give this a perfect 10. And really, I've struggled to find reasons not to give it that perfect 10. The only issue particularly I had was the very, very rare minor graphical issues with the texture pop-ins. And even the one I highlighted earlier with that texture line, I only noticed that when I was testing out the graphics mode and I was particularly looking for graphical differences. That's the only time I actually noticed it. That issue was of course apparent while I was playing the game the first time round, but I was so drawn into the world, it was just not an issue. So I've got to obviously be objective and shave a minor bit of the score off because there is a slight issue, but it's not going to be an issue for many people. You're not going to notice these kind of things. In instances where I don't get my review out before the embargo is lifted, I always try to avoid watching any other content creators' reviews, so I don't influence my own decisions and thoughts and feelings on a game. And in this instance, I've definitely done that. But I did get a comment on my first look video for Arken Age, where one of my subscribers worried about getting lost because they'd seen another reviewer mention this and the game not telling you what to do. Now, for me, I actually liked this about the game, but it doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't have big arrows saying, over here, this is what you're doing. For me, that was quite a positive. I know exactly which section of the game we're referring to. Got to an area where you had to complete a task to get to the next zone, but the game doesn't give you that direction. There's no indicators to tell you exactly what you need to do. But in retrospect, the quest log did tell me exactly what I needed to do, but it doesn't tell you specifically where or how to accomplish this task. I think overall, the two of you should be extremely proud of the game they've created. What you're getting is a complete product. This isn't a game that's going to require day one patches or anything to really fix problems, because really there are no problems for this game. You're getting a complete game, including New Game Plus at launch. This is an extremely well polished, thought out game, and I really want to see more of the Arken Age universe. I'd love to see some DLC in the future for this, or even a sequel. I want more Arken Age. I love my time with this game. If I was being really nitpicky, my only other gripe with the game is they could have really extended the replayability of the game. Even though it's got that New Game Plus, they could have put in trophies for completing the game on New Game Plus or a hard mode. For those completionists, if you do get through the game the first time and achieve that platinum trophy, which I did, then sometimes you can lose the drive to play a game again. Or for content creators like myself, once you've actually completed a game, you feel that pressure to move on to the next title to cover. But who am I trying to kid? I'm definitely going to be playing this game again, even though I've got the platinum trophy. This game is amazing, and I absolutely love it.